Okay, folks, so in our last assignment, the color wheel, one of the things that we spent a lot of time doing was moving files from Illustrator to Photoshop. So you saw that, how that pathway could go and all the different ways in which you could do it. So one of the ways that we could do it is copying and pasting, right? Is also saving it. We can save things as a true Photoshop file. We can do all sorts of stuff. So I'm going to save this as a Photoshop file. So File and Save As. And I'm going to go ahead and try to find Photoshop file, and it's not there because you can't actually save something as a different file type like a raster. You can push it out of a software like Illustrator by exporting it. So we're going to do a file and export as, and this is going to allow us to save this as Photoshop. So, okay, cool. So I'll go ahead and I should probably make a new folder called raster files. But then again, let's think like a client. How about PSD files? Okay, yeah, that's more like it. So we'll go ahead and pick PSD from here. So let's find Photoshop PSD, and here we are, CMYK logo 1, and I'll say export. And I get to here and ask me for color models, right? So CMYK, RGB grayscale. Well, the project asks us for RGB, right? So let's do RGB. And then, oh, wait a minute. What did that do? It changed. It changed something here in the options. Let's go back to CMYK. Oh, in CMYK, I can write layers or I can flatten the image. Cool. Okay. So I want to totally write layers. Always want to write layers, right? Well, wait a minute. I don't even have layers. Oh, no. That's kind of a problem. So before we get into this, let's look at that. This somehow doesn't have any layers. And I'll be, full disclosure, the reason it doesn't have layers is because I didn't build this file. This was a file that someone gave to me to help them fix, and it had no layers. So we just need to put some layers in it, that's all. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to do it a few times, 6 or 7 times. And what I want to do is I want to select this thing, and I want to start to move things around in it. So let's see. This is a yellow ring. So behind that, there's a blue ring. And then inside of here, we have some text. Okay. Look at these paws. They have this little cat and this little dog, and so on and so forth, right? So what you want to do is you want to write layers in general. But what you want to really do is, especially if you're going to export this as a PSD file, you kind of want to think about what exactly do you want to do to it? That's a question you should ask. Well, I think what I want to do is I want to put a drop shadow on the ring. Yeah, I definitely want to do that. So I definitely want to put that ring on its own layer then. And I think I may also want to put that same drop shadow on this actual kind of like blue cross with the animals in it. I don't think I want to do anything funky to the animals itself, so I think I'm going to kind of treat this blue area like it's one thing. And then I kind of want to treat these rings like they're one thing. And then along with that, I think I might want to maybe play around with the text a little bit, maybe put a little bevel on there or something like that. That is necessary, what I just did. You have to figure out exactly what you want to do before you just start doing stuff, or else you're going to make way too many layers or not enough layers, and you're not going to be able to execute in Photoshop what you want to do the right way. So, okay, now that we know this, let's go ahead and let's start doing this. So Countryside Van Airy. All right, so I'm going to highlight that. And over here on my layer palette, I get this little blue dot. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that little blue dot and I'm going to click on it. I'm going to drag up to this layer 2. And then check it out. Layer 2 really says Countryside Van Airy. So let's go ahead and call it what it is. Okay, cool. Now, medical group. Let's grab that. Let's grab that little blue dot, bring it up to layer 3. Medical group. Okay, cool. Now I have a set of paws on the right and a set of paws on the left. I think I'm going to grab them both and bring them forward and say pause. I don't know if I'm going to do anything with them, but if I do, I kind of want it to kind of be the same, so I'll do it to them at the same time. All right, so I've got those things figured out. Now, I've got these rings here. I kind of think I want to keep them together. So I'm going to literally just go ahead and drag them up to this layer here, and I'm going to call them rings. And then I have this area here. And I kind of want to keep this together. So I'm going to drag this up to this layer. And, I don't know, I'll call this, how about animals in center? How about that? Animals in center container. All right. And now turn that off. But layer 7's got nothing on it. Get rid of that. Now layer 1's empty too. Get rid of that. Let's flip everything back on. And it doesn't work. Oh no. Why? I see countryside event when I grab it. It's because rings is in front of all that stuff. So I'll take that rings layer and I'm just going to drag it straight down. And there we go. Cool. And so I should save this. So I'll save this. And I'm going to save this in those AI files as just an Illustrator document. And I'm going to call it CMYK logo. And I'm just going to call it layered. Logo 1 layered. Continue. Okay it. Great. Now let's push it out as that Photoshop file and export. And export as. Pick a Photoshop file down here. Find the PSD files, drop it right inside of there. And I don't have to, I'm just going to call it NRP252 my tag, CMYK logo 1. And actually, I'm not even going to worry about, I'm just going to call it literally like logo 1.psd. And export that. And then we come here, color mode, right? All right, so let's get back to that, what the assignment says. The assignment says RGB, so we're going to click RGB, right? And then, wait, the options change. Yeah, we're back here again. See, when you change the color mode, it automatically flattens the image. Crap. So what are we going to do? So we're going to go back to that color model, and we're going to go back to CMYK because we want to write layers, okay? And I'm going to show you in Photoshop how we get to RGB because it's a much easier transition over there. Resolution, you have options here, okay? Anytime you're going from Illustrator to Photoshop, always keep this on high. Layers, we want them. There's no text here, so that's why this is grayed out, but if there was text, that would be white. And you usually do want to preserve text editability. We want to preserve maximum editability, and we want to make anti-aliasing. Keeping it type optimized or hinted is really good. And we want to also embed our profile. So I'm going to say okay to this. And what it does is it pushes out a Photoshop file that when I come over to Photoshop, I can literally say File and Open and go and find it. And find the logos, PSD files. There it is right there. It's a File and Open. Lastly but not least, over here, when you go ahead and you export anything from Illustrator, it just literally brings it right to the edge. So I have absolutely nothing other than this. And I don't know about you, but I like to spread a little bit when I'm designing in Photoshop. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Image and Canvas Size. This isn't going to change resolution. This isn't going to change anything weird or anything like that. But it tells me that this is 4.57 inches large. Great. Let's make this 6 inches by 6 inches. And say okay. And what it does is it just gives us that little bit of extra space around the edge that we had afforded here in the Illustrator file as well. It's just going to make things work out a little bit easier for us, and I can easily say file save to that. Okay, so that's good. That's how we go ahead and we make it a PSD file. When we come back, we're going to take a look at the styles and all the other options that you can do. Again, you're familiar with them already because you did the color wheel, but I'll throw a couple examples out there. Thank you.